Hello and welcome to Ask the Dice Maker. I'm Sasha, the master dice maker behind Sunshadeau Arts, and I'll be your guide on this journey into the world of handmade resin dice. Today on Ask the Dice Maker, I'm going to share my top tips to make your dice making journey so much easier. Hey Sasha, what are your top tips for easy dice making? If you didn't know, I love to teach other people how to make dice. I have a beginning resin dice making course that's available on my website, and I'm in the process of developing an advanced dice making course that's currently available through my Patreon. So be sure to check them out if you're interested. Here are my top tips for making the dice making process easier. Number 1. Having trouble with glitter suspension? Use dust instead. Is every glitter sinking to the bottom no matter how fine? Try switching to dust. Dust is sort of like a mica powder, but it tends to have a larger particle size. And many dusts have a clear base with some variety of colored shimmer, so it won't color your resin, but it will make it shimmery. Using a tiny amount, about the size of the head of a pin for 30 milliliters of resin, will create an extra fine glitter-like effect in your finished dice. And the dust is lightweight enough that it won't sink in resin. Number 2. You want to add a small figure to your die without changing the balance? Take your miniature figure and create a silicone mold of it. Then you can cast a version of your figure out of the same resin that you use for the rest of your die. Since the inclusion is made of the same resin, the die will remain perfectly balanced. And as a bonus, you can easily cast as many of the miniature inclusions as you want. Number 3. Having trouble with air bubbles when using a complicated inclusion? Does that flower bud or miniature figure have lots of little nooks and crannies that air gets trapped in? Try pre-coating your inclusions with clear resin. Dip your inclusion in resin and leave it to cure. This way, the resin will fill the little holes and pockets while leaving plenty of space for air bubbles to escape and pop. And if you do still end up with an air bubble or two on the surface of your inclusion, you can open the bubble and fill it with resin before embedding it in your die. And the clear resin you use to coat the item will disappear completely once it's inside the die, provided you use the same resin. Number 4. Put too much pigment in your resin? When using color in resin, especially when using more than one color at a time, always keep some extra clear resin off to the side. If you add too much pigment, you can water it down with clear resin without having to chuck the entire batch. Also, if you find you didn't mix enough of one color, you can easily mix more without having to mix up extra resin. This has been lifesaver in my dice making life. Just be sure to have an extra mold or two handy in case you have extra resin that you need to use up. Number 5. Don't be afraid to experiment. Throw anything you can think of into dice and just see what happens. Be bold, be brave, and venture where no dice maker has gone before. Can you tell I've been watching a lot of Star Trek lately? Well, if you want to get more free dice making tips, you can check out my Notes from the Sunshadow Archive segments. They can be found in video form on Instagram IGTV at Sunshadow Arts and in written form on my blog at sunshadowarts.com. That's all for this episode of Ask the Dice Maker. Until next time. Do you have a question you'd like to ask the Dice Maker? Drop it in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. Want to check my credentials? Visit my website at sunshadowarts.com or find me on Twitter or Instagram at Sunshadow Arts. And consider joining the Sunshadow community by becoming a patron on Patreon.